right. And what I'm going to do, just because I want to try it out, I started out this whole thing with a new background. So I'm going to hit share screen and find it. This will make us look really official. You watch. And watch me forget. There we go.
Oh.
How about that? They can still see us.
I love that.
I just realized going live at 5:30, it's all official, but there we are, like right there in the corner. I can't quite hide. And here I was going to do this like way ahead of time so people could think we're really official. And
we're really good at this.
Yeah, we're really good at this. And it turns out it's already 5:30. So okay, so next week we'll be 5 minutes early so you can hear all the production sounds and noises going on in the background, all of the people and the team it takes to make this happen.
Yes, it takes a village.
Well, hey, Regina, how are you? Uh-oh, she froze. Daggone it, right at the beginning.
Something online.
Right at the beginning. And actually, she's smiling. Her eyes are closed, but she's smiling. So while she's frozen, oh, there she's back. You're learning. I realized
I'm just going to sit here with a...
I think that's the best idea. That's actually a good picture with that background. That could be your new glamour shot for work and all that.
Oh, I love it. I love it a lot.
Yeah, you will. I think it's a good one. But I realized we've done, I don't know, 400 or 500 of these shows or something. But
at least.
And I can hear me again. Are you? Is that you? No. Okay. So what I realized is we didn't tell anybody what the show is at the beginning of the show ever. I mean.
Oh, we need, yes.
So we need to say who we are and what we're doing. So I'm Troy. This is Regina on whichever side she's on.
Oh, and I'm Regina.
Let's
work on that. Okay, let's do that again.
Hi, my name's Troy Klein.
And I'm Regina Klein-Stahl.
And we are here to bring to you this fabulous new show called, that would be your cue. What are we called?
Let's Chit Chat About Nothing show.
No, that's the that's the byline. It is called What's the Point?
God, okay, let's do it again.
All right. Okay. Hi, I'm Troy Klein.
And I'm Regina Klein-Stahl.
And we are bringing to you today a new wonderful show called
What's the Point?
A random chit chat show. That was good. I think that's what we need to open it up. So, and this show is really about what the title says. There really is no point.
There's no. Well, there's a point.
Filling time.
There's definitely a point.
There are many points.
There are many, many, many points. But the greatest one is to fill that dead space in people's lives, in their homes, while they're cooking dinner, with just this lovely melodious sound in the background that brings their attention to things that are important to them and urgent to our culture and society at large.
Yeah, that is a very good point, Regina Stahl.
Yes.
I think it is good background noise if you're cleaning the house or the bathroom or whatever, and you just need to hear sound. We can fill that space for you really well. And you know what I'm doing and what we all should be doing watching the show, go online, go to Facebook, which my Facebook is right here. And I'm going to kind of refresh my screen and turn all the sound down so I don't get that echo. Oh yeah, there it is. Looks like it's seriously live. And we have 5,000 people.
We do. Miss.
That's amazing.
Bonjour, Regina.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. And Tara Warner was there. She is my niece. She is Dan's sister's daughter. His sister Donna Warner. Her daughter is Tara. And Tara she wasn't in the party itself, but she was definitely at the wedding. Jason Kimball was not.
Okay.
So
all right.
Hope that answered that.
I hope so. I thought maybe they were all there together. Oh, there's Lori Klein Turner.
Hey, Lori, when are you going to come on with us?
Thanks for keeping Klein in your name. Yeah. Thanks for keeping the name Klein in your name. Regina didn't do that.
Yes, she did. Look it again.
Your name is Regina Kleinstall?
On Facebook.
Oh, okay. Well, I take that back.
And on my certificate hanging on the wall, my diploma that says Doctorate of
Oh,
Nursing Practice in Executive Leadership, that says Regina Kleinstall.
funny, we're so proud of the name Klein. We don't even really know where it came from. I did some research on it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I know what's really interesting about that. Lori, if you're on there, maybe Rob, you can chime in too. I'm sure we've all looked up like what your name means. So maybe we're together when this happened, but I was at an amusement park or online or something. And I'm like, you would look up names and it would be like Smith or the Taylors, and it meant like glorious Scottish presence in kingly state and blah, 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 and all this wonderful stuff. And I looked up Klein, it meant little man. That's what it meant, little man, at least in the one that I saw. And I'm like, that can't be right. Little man. And then I looked at that, and that's like, there are lots of different kinds of Kleins. So I looked it up again, and apparently in ancestry.com, I think is what it was. It meant it used to be, there used to be a German spelling of Klein. There still is, like Klein, or with all the K's. And then there's a British spelling of Klein that's with a C, which is us, because it's clearly where we come from. Clearly.
Yeah. We're British.
And
with apparently donkey mouths.
I'll bet. Cheerio. See, it's just natural. We can talk like that. Yeah. But so it meant like, I think it meant like basket maker, basket weaver, or
underwater basket weaver.
Probably, I remember that. But yeah, so that's our name. I'll take it, and it's because the people back in Ireland, England, that apparently were farmers that we came from our part of our heritage, and there were many farmers and people who did different things, and people often had last names that reflected the work that their family did, from what it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
So we came from that, and we also came from a whole line of seafaring people. So because it's the British Isles, there's a lot of water there, and so there are captains and all kinds of fun stuff on ships in our heritage too, which I kind of think is cool. I think that's more exciting than a basket weaver, but depends on what kind of basket weaver you are.
I do too.
Yeah.
Underwater basket weavers are that's kind of cool.
Well, they're rare.
Yes.
They're extremely rare.
Incredibly skilled and talented. Quite sexy, I believe.
I think they are. Okay, let's see. I'm doing my best this time to keep an eye. All right.
Yeah, Joanne, I'm reading your comment, and it's making me feel a little old. I have to tell you, a little old. A little flower girl's children were in her 4-H, and one of her oldest, my flower girl's oldest daughter, went to college this year. That is perfect timing, because I had my eyes checked today, and I, have to get a little stronger lens. That's all I want to say about that.
Oh dear.
Something about age, eyes, aged eyes.
That'll happen.
Yeah, I've really been denying it a lot.
Well, that's why, isn't that really is a rite of passage in certain ways. I'm not sure to where, but that's why I have all these different glasses, like the granny glasses, like those. They actually let me see, but they reflect everything.
Everything.
And then I have not Clark Kent, but the more normal glasses.
Oh, I like those.
You like those? Those are kind of neat. I kind of like them too.
Are those the ones you got at St. Louis?
Well, yeah. And then I think I had to have them redone or something.
Oh.
They screwed up the order. They made them, I think I'm nearsighted or whatever, but they made the whole thing just a set of reading glasses, and I needed.
Well, didn't they do that first, and then they did it again while you were waiting? And you had that really cool bionic looking picture taken.
It is, and then I sat on them. I crushed them.
Oh.
And then I went to the lens crafters with that same prescription, and then they gave me these expensive little glasses that I've destroyed and sat on many times. I'm terrible with glasses. I try hard.
Maybe try harder.
So I'm keeping an eye on here. Let's see. So we got Joanne. She's there. Good to see you. Lori. And then we got, I know Joe's going to be on. We got Eddie. Edie keeps saying Eddie. That's not what her name is. So let's talk about backgrounds, and then we'll jump into all of our incredible topics that are really important to
Okay.
talk about. So you might
So my
recognize
background
this
is
background.
well, my
Go
background,
for it.
I'll go
Yeah,
first,
you
is
please
just
do.
it's a lovely peaceful setting that kind of brings some to the week that I've been having. So
Yeah,
I
ooh,
just wanted this calm feng shui kind of setting with a lovely color
I think it
wall that
is.
kind of clashes with my shirt just a little.
I don't think
Couldn't
we've
have a
ever lived in a
busy,
house like that.
I couldn't have a real busy background because my shirt's plenty busy.
That's true.
Mhm.
It's a good shirt, though.
It's
Is it a
different,
shirt?
yes,
Oh,
as
okay.
opposed to a dress or
Blouse and a top and a whatever else
it's
women call their clothes.
it's a piece
Jacket.
of clothing that I don on my upper body. My
Oh,
lower
well,
body
aren't you
has a pair of
special?
jeans. The top
Well, why
blouse
don't we
shirt.
turn this into something? What is everybody wearing right now? Of course, nothing on from the screen down. I mean, that's a given in today's world. But yeah, like what do you want like when you're on work calls and all that stuff and everybody that's on, people often wear just sweatpants or shorts or underwear or whatever, and then they look just like $1 million from here up. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to affect fashion, I think, as we go forward after COVID.
Yeah,
We have like months of
yeah.
this to go. It sounds like,
Oh, we're just
um,
gearing up for flu season.
we are all on top of COVID. Awesome.
Yeah,
So everybody's going to think they have COVID now when they have the
yeah.
flu. And I'll be one of those. I'll be the first one.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. We'll go
I can
from
already feel it.
tumas to COVID.
And all the side effects. I mean, there are
All of them.
strings of side
Every
effects that we
single
keep
one of
hearing
them.
about. I look on the Googles. I know these things. I stay up
Look
to
on
date
Dr.
with
Google.
on Dr. Google. It's
So,
going to be in my book, my medical book.
so just so you know, I just realized that sometimes I get a warning on my screen that says your internet connection is unstable.
Oh,
When that happens, I'm going to smile. That way I won't look like, a deranged donkey when I get a freeze frame,
yeah,
so
you've
that's my
had some really
goal.
good freezes,
I
some
know,
really
I
good ones.
know.
I know that Gail was on there sometimes, and he jumps on. And he kind of helps us with that,
Chris
capture those
Gale.
beautiful moments. Chris Gale,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Chris Gale's out of town today, so I think I'm safe there.
Okay, you might be safe today. We'll
I
see.
might
Maybe
be.
Joe will jump on. No, he goes against me. That's a problem.
Yes. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for Joe.
So my background is the Great British Baking Show. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I have not. You've told me quite a bit about it, but I have not seen it.
It's really, really cool. I mean, if you need something to binge, or 7 seasons, maybe 8, but I started with season 7,
Wow.
and then I watched season 6, and then I went back to season 1. I'm up to season 3, and it's funny. It's one of those shows that you get to know the characters and the people that are baking, and they're amateur bakers. And these British people who know how to cook beyond anything come in and judge them and tell them to make, we need you to make a Charlotte Russe souffle or something or whatever. And sometimes they have no idea what that is. And they give them these directions and the ingredients, and then they just turn them loose and just tell them to bake. And so
Oh,
they give them 3 challenges. The first challenge is one they've practiced. It's like, the whole thing could be cookies, which they call biscuits, which are very different in this country. So then they have a technical challenge, which is impossible, that they've never seen before. And then they have the showstopper that's supposed to be a sculpture blended something.
wow.
And there are fails, and there's a little bit of backstabbing sometimes, and they have
Oh,
some
wow.
comedians on there. And then there's really, really, really good ideas and some baking stuff. I mean, I'm starving to death every time I watch that show. And friends of mine actually watched, there's a show that spun off of it called Master Bakers or something like that. And it's with the 2 judges. And they make the food, I
It's
guess,
quite
the
a
way it's
name.
supposed to be. I know. And so these guys, friends of mine, started baking stuff off of that show. And you can go online and get the actual recipes. And they started making macaroons, little
Uh-huh.
cookies that are
Oh, I
they're
love
so good.
those.
Oh man, these
Love
were
those.
amazing. And then they made a couple things that didn't work out so good. They tasted good, but didn't look so good. Like one of them was supposed to be a log with like marshmallow, some sort of almond cream and something in a chocolate roll, and
Mm.
and it just broke on the sides and kind of flattened out into a giant
Oh
Twinkie.
no.
But it tasted incredibly good. Yeah, and that happened on the show too. You know, just fun. I
Oh,
don't know if anybody else. There's John. John says I'll do it. I'm not sure what that is, John, but okay. We apparently have moved on from whatever we were talking about before.
yeah. So your background is from the British cooking show.
Yeah. So
Is
that's the
that, do they
tent.
cook under the tent?
Yeah, yeah. So they're out in the yard. So there's the giant house, the big mansion.
That looks a
Who
little like
knows?
Downton Abbey.
It does, doesn't it? And the grounds are expansive and beautiful in the gardens. And then way out in this field, they put this tent. And then every day, all these bakers come in and they all go into this giant tent with all the lights and cameras. And they have ovens and all the stuff they need in
Wow.
there. Like, I think they start with like 10 or 12 people. And then from all over, they're like 10,000 people that apply for this. And so the ones that get in there are the ones like the top 10 or
Really?
12 that select and survive that list. Uh-oh, you did freeze for a second. Hold on. So it's good. You should watch it. So in honor of the Great British Baking Show, I'm
Am
wearing
I
my,
unfrozen? Can I stop smiling?
you're unfrozen now.
Okay.
I think this is called a derby. Is this called a derby?
It's a fedora.
Fedora, that's it. That's it. I got this for real. Like I thought they looked cool and I was going to try to bring the 60s back. Like and go to work, have my dark jacket and this and maybe an umbrella. I thought I look
Oh
like the old
yeah.
crazy guy. I think it'd be cool. I think men should be wearing hats again.
Yeah. I
Let's
see some men
bring
have
hats back.
hats with in the wintertime with their overcoat, you know, with their long suit coat, you know, the
Yeah,
long it
yeah.
looks really cool.
I think it looks really cool too.
I
I
think
don't
it's
know why.
elegant and stylish.
I think so too. I don't know why we stopped doing that. I don't know.
Well, probably well, I won't say that.
Oh yeah. Okay then. I'm scared to even ask. But so that's what this all is. So tonight
It's
is in
lovely.
honor of that. One of these days and it's teaching me how to speak British too. So
Oh,
one of these days I'll
I
get
should
better at
watch
it.
that.
You should. There was one lady, I don't know what the accent was, but oh my God, I could not understand a word she said. And so they would go and they'd talk to her and say, I'm like, that is not English, but it was. But it was like really impossible. And I was like, you need subtitles. Or it was really good because actually when I was in the UK, I met a couple people that had that accent. And it was hilarious and awesome. I
Is
was
it
like, I really want to
Scottish?
have
I know the
no, well,
Scottish English is really hard to follow. I love it, but it's
maybe
hard to
basic.
follow.
Instead of like saying something like I was wasted, it would say like I was wasted. It's that kind of sound,
Yeah,
wasted. And I love
wasted.
it. Does sound maybe it is Scottish-ish. I don't know. So that's what it is. Now, I know I want to get to something that we haven't done before in the show, which is a couple things. And because I love it when people jump on like JP and Joe and Joanne and all these and Lori, and they pop in Indiana Jones. Yeah, you're right, Lori.
Oh yeah.
He brought these
You
hats
know,
back for a while.
there's a show on USA. That's what I was looking for at the beginning that Dan
Yeah.
watches a lot. It's not it's got this guy that in the 80s he was like one of those child actors that everybody followed. I think he
Hmm.
might have been in 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club, you know, in that genre. And he now
Yeah.
has a show on USA, and he's a bad guy, but a good guy at the same time. And he always wears those big overcoats with a fedora. And man, I cannot remember
Oh.
his name.
Wonder
He,
who
you
that.
know,
So
if
if he was in the Breakfast Club, it wasn't Emilio Estevez or what his name was.
no, no. Hopefully it'll come to me.
It will. Somebody should know if you know what she's
Yeah, I
talking
hope
about.
so.
There's Debbie Bennett. Debbie Bennett. Cool, 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 cool. So there's a thing we want to do, I think, which I think is gonna be fun, is like I really enjoyed last week when we were talking about like the old man sayings, the guy going from his 60s into his
Yeah.
70s, and we got through maybe 4 of them.
Mhm.
And like maybe we'll hit a couple more of those here in a little bit too and see
Yeah.
what people think. You type it in online what your thoughts are. We'll pop it into the show. We'll talk
Yes,
about.
please.
We'll talk with you too. I mean, really, because we've got like 9,000 people on right now, so
Yes,
you
we
should be able. We
do.
should get a couple thousand comments by now. So of course everybody knows what incredible liars we are, but at the same time, it makes us feel great.
The blacklist. That's right. The blacklist.
Is that what it is?
Lori, that was driving me crazy.
Lori knew that one. I still don't even know what that is. Lori, can you post a picture of who this person is?
I'm not saying you
just
look like
pop
him.
it into the.
Okay, make sure
Well,
you
I have the
understand.
hat like
You
him,
don't
though.
look like him. You have a hat like he has.
That would be a fun thing to do. It could destroy us emotionally, but if we had people start posting pictures of people, movie stars or people anywhere that they think we look like.
No, I don't think I could handle it.
I find that interesting. Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
sad.
I can handle it.
It would be interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, you can do it to me then.
Who?
So if you guys no.
Anthony Michael
I'm afraid
Hall.
what people will put on there. Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall.
That's his name? The guy in the fedora? I love that name. Oh, she froze. Hold on. I don't know if anybody's on. Every time Regina freezes, you have to take a drink of whatever's near. All right. Cool. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So I was going to say, we're going to talk about, like, there's a talking point. You are.
You need to tell me so I stop posing.
I don't know. It's kind of like a dog, like when they go up. Like
James Spader.
That reminds me of the Beagle Brigade. You remember me telling you about the Beagle Brigade? You know?
Vaguely.
My friend Robbie Barandis, he's from Peace Corps. He got Becky and his wife. They got a rescue dog. Well, they adopted a little beagle, and the beagle was from something called the Beagle Brigade, and he failed in the Beagle Brigade. And it's a beagle training course that they use at airports. And what they do is because beagles can smell everything. They can smell vegetables and carrots and God knows what in people's luggage you're not allowed to have. So they bring these little beagles out and they sniff. And when they smell stuff, they just stop and they point until they get a treat. So this beagle, he would do that, but then he did all kinds of other things and he was hard to control. So they got him, they adopted him, and they said for years, they every time he'd go into the kitchen past the trash can, there would be lettuce or whatever in there. He would stop and just freeze in place until they gave him a treat. Like he'd be there for God knows how long. That's adorable. I'd love to have a Beagle Brigade reject that's trained enough to make me smile, make me giggle. So that's what that is. But we want to talk about Tanya's on.
It's not. It's James Spader. It's James Spader, not the other guy. Yeah.
JP grabbed the screenshot. Thanks,
Thank
JP.
you, JP. Yeah, thank you much.
And you can post those. I think you can post pictures in the chat room. I think that would be great. We'll start a new tabletop collection.
Yeah, you think it's great because it's screenshots of me freezing.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it'd be like that kind of thing.
Well, I look like a deranged gerbil.
Oh, somebody did. Oh, there he is. Oh, that is that hat. So if you're in we have a Facebook group for What's the Point. And if you're online now, you can go to What's the Point and you'll see how to join. There are like 120 some people.
Yeah.
Join this group, which is awesome. Can't believe it, but there we are. And it's fun. So it's given us once a week a time to come in here and just do this nonsense and talk with each other and catch up and try to make ourselves feel a little bit better while we're in a pandemic and relearning how to do our work lives and family lives and home lives. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I don't have kids, I have cats. But I feel for the parents that are used to being working parents and now they're with their kids 24/7. That's got to be hard. It's got to be good and bad, right? Yeah. How would you handle this? Like if you were, let's say Chris and Cassandra were 12 and 8 or whatever.
Oh, well, considering that I am mother extraordinaire,
That's true.
I would be, teaching them the fundamentals of baking and of, deep cleaning those few times a year that one must do that. And I would also teach them to read advanced English novels and, those type of things.
You lost me. What were you saying?
I don't know. I'd probably
And
separate
the
them,
true
put them in their
story.
own room. I'd probably make them go to their own corners and, sit and read a book or
I like
play by themselves or something.
I
I
like
don't
the
know.
idea the uncle can come in and do the fun stuff. I bring blow darts when I babysit. Those work really well. It's like I said, problem solved. Yeah,
Problem
for about
solved.
an hour and 10 minutes. About the time you roll back in and parents come back in, there's kids are up and rested miraculously.
I know that Cassandra was, she had both girls at home, especially at the beginning of the quarantine time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she did amazing things with them. They did all kinds of crafts. They colored, they made slime, they made,
That's cool.
The Play-Doh stuff and, all kinds of stuff. And I told her to take pictures of all of those things. And then when this pandemic is over, to make like a book of, activities during pandemic.
That's really cool. Did she freeze? She did. Cheers. Wow, that's a good freeze.
Oh.
JP, you had a lot of time for that one.
What? I'm just not gonna talk. I'm just gonna sit and pose.
You do that. The camera's doing that for you, so you really don't have to try. You can just talk, and we can kind of hear you, like when it happens. Here's what you made me think of when you were talking about Cassandra and the activities and all that. Wonder what if people, it'd be kind of fun on the show, maybe if Cassandra came on or told you, or if she wanted to jump on for a little bit and give us an activity that you can do with kids, like just something the kids like. Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome. I even try it. Like if you tell me ahead of time, I'll get the stuff and I'll try to make whatever
fun.
it is.
She did make the Play-Doh stuff. Cool. Yeah, and the kids loved it. Loved it.
Well, maybe we can get the kids on and they can show us one of their creations or some activity. That'd be fun.
That would be. That'd
be. Let's do that. Maybe next week. If they're around, we can. Because who knows? It might spark a few ideas that people at home could say, "Yeah, that's easy. I could do that." But of course, I want you to make sure it's like Martha Stewart level, so that and pretend like it's super easy.
Yes.
And it just happens, and the most impossible thing, like we have Venetian glitter that just came in, and from my garden I pulled out these fennel twigs that are from Jamaica. They're exported only to certain places, and if you go to your garden, grab some of those and use your Venetian glitter, and we're going to make something that will levitate. It's quite easy. I think it'd be awesome. Maybe that'll be mine. I'll do the impossible.
Yeah.
Activity.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You should do that.
Speaking of activities, did you see my bee video?
Yes.
You didn't see my bee video?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I did. How cool was that?
That is so cool.
How did you do that?
That is crazy.
How did you get that?
Well, I mean, it's really funny. Yeah. And it's just, you could hear it. Did you hear its wings?
I did.
It sounds like a little engine starting. It's like, clink, clink, it just starts hanging on its wings and flies away. I'm like,
so cool.
It's like it cranked up. So I was on TikTok, and often in between all the random videos, these people come on with iPhone hacks and things you can do. And one of them was you can take your phone and you put it in photo mode or whatever, turn on your camera. And then if you hold your finger, like you basically put it in a slow-mo, like in a slow motion setting, and then hold your thumb down like in the middle of the screen and zoom in on your hand, like just your fingers, like maybe 5 inches away, and hold it down until it locks the focus, and it will just automatically lock it in place. And then you just take your camera and you find a bee or a butterfly, and you just kind of quickly follow it really quick. It's almost like you're chasing them and going through the flowers. And what comes back is the slow motion effect. And you'll see the butterfly going slowly. And I tried it. So I was out in the front of the house and in the flower garden. I'm like chasing bugs and stuff. And Jeff came out and he looked down. I was like, oh no, you've been on TikTok. Because I try on it. stuff.
Oh,
I'm
he
like,
froze.
I get crazy to this group page too. But it's a bee. Uh-oh, my internet connection's unstable now.
Yeah, you froze.
Did I?
You,
You
it
don't have
was you,
anything to drink?
JP. Did you get that one?
Did you get that? Like, it's hard to tell what I was doing. I wonder what happened. That's very unusual. But so anyway, I got this bee video, and when it came back, there's this close up of this bumblebee flying
Yeah.
out of a flower, and it kind of hangs out there, and you hear its wings start, and it's kind of in slow motion. And then the phone was so close that the mic is so good, I wasn't even looking for that part, that it picked up the sound of the bee's wings. And so when you listen to it, it starts like the bees in a flower, and then suddenly you see the wings go.
It's so cool.
And it just picks up this giant bee, and it just kind of lumbers out of the picture. It's just really cool.
It's really cool.
So I posted it to
Hey, Tanya.
TikTok. Now hold on. I want to see how many people, how many thousands of people.
Oh, JP did
I don't
too.
want that.
JP, are you going to publish a book or something with all of these?
Well, there's one viewer, so that's good. So you did? Are they posting the pictures, the frozen pictures?
I haven't seen a picture, not that I want to.
I haven't either, but that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So that's my bee video, and I'm gonna try it again. I'll try it with a butterfly. It's real easy. I'll show you, like, when I come out in September.
Yeah.
So you too can run around in your yard and chase bugs. That'll be fun. Who's on?
I usually run away from bugs.
There's Tanya.
You should see me out doing yard work when bugs start chasing me. It looks like drunken squirrels mowing the grass.
Oh, are you
all the lines
screaming and oh my gosh. So you're driving away from the bugs attacking you, I see.
Yeah.
That would be a beautiful design. I could see me.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
one time I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, it really does look like drunken squirrels were playing in the yard with a lawnmower.
That's crazy. All right, shall we let me delve into the old man. I'll pick maybe one or two, and then I want to talk about one of your points you're going to bring up, which I think is really kind of fun to do. We'll see how it goes. All right, so there's this thing online on Facebook that's been going around that is a 70-year-old, 80-year-old man. It said between 60 and 70, what did he learn, and what does he do now in his life that he didn't do before he wish he had, and what lessons he learned, blah, 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 blah. And when you do that, gosh, I'm 55, I'm thinking, that makes me feel really old. They're already asking people like me for wisdom. What's that?
And is that what you do? What?
I'm like, wisdom? I'm not that old. I kind of am. So we stopped at 4, I think, last time.
Oh no,
4 or 6.
Okay.
Okay, so here's this one. He says, I have learned not to correct people even when I know they're wrong. The onus of making everyone perfect is not on me. Peace is more precious than perfection.
I like it. No, I like it.
So I think it depends on what it is.
It does. It does.
But in general, there are a lot of things you just let go.
I really do. I do. I think, it's because, I have a big background in why I just let things go, but I think that's good. I let a lot go. If it doesn't matter, I read something one time that says in 5 years from now, if whatever you're stressing about right now doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. So I don't care. I mean, there are things I care about. That
reminds me of a saying.
If there are things I care about, absolutely, that I will correct, absolutely. But there are so many things.
It's just, who cares? It really isn't on you to correct it. It's true. He's right. It's not my job. I wasn't born to correct people. And who do I think I am that I think I'm going around correcting people anyway? Yeah. And would I want people correcting me all the time? Sometimes, yes. I mean, thank you that you corrected me a few times so that I changed a few of my mannerisms. That was like one of those moments. Regina did not hold that one back, by the way. So I'm like, I think I have some of Dad's mannerisms, and she just burst out laughing. And You mean mannerism. So we told that story, but that's one of those moments. I'm glad you did.
Well, that one
I
mattered.
started thinking, how long have I been saying that? And to who did I say that to? I probably said it in a meeting, a couple meetings. Like when people say, I seen that, that drives me crazy.
Drives me out of my
It
mind.
drives me crazy. It's, I saw
seen
that.
it. I always
I
think
have
of the
seen that.
streak. I always think of the streak. Oh, yes, they
Oh,
call it the
yeah.
streak. Whee!
Look at that. Look at that. Yeah.
That's the same
Yeah,
old
I
GP.
seen it.
I
That's right.
seen it. I seen him running.
That's right.
Yeah.
You guys,
Drives
do you
me
know what we're
nuts.
talking about out there? Because the streaker was a big deal. Like when we were kids, it was in the 70s. And gosh, so it was in the 70s. And the song The Streaker or The Streak came
The
on.
streak.
And it's still, you can download it.
It's
It's
Ray
still there and
Stevens.
it's still funny. Is it?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. JP, do you know about The Streak? Because I know everyone used to talk about it, and it was kind of like the funny thing church people talked about and snickered about because they were talking about naked people running around, and they thought that was fun. That's how church people act when they talk about naked people.
It was, well, you shouldn't talk about it. It's equivalent to porn.
Right? And they all watched it. Like I remember a story from one of the churches a long time ago, and I won't say which one. But there was a Sears catalog when Sears and JCPenney's had catalogs all the time. I think they still do that.
I remember what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, and so it was like they had like furniture and clothes and shoes, and then they had the underwear section. So you had the men's underwear section and the women's underwear section. And of course everybody went to the underwear section. I'm sure they did. I mean, please. And so it's like soft porn for the masses. And so they basically there was this guy who he was in his briefs or whatever, this really handsome model. And the story was that apparently he wasn't concealed properly in his briefs and apparently not concealed entirely. And the rumor got out and people, I mean, every single issue
It went viral
of that Sears
before
catalog,
we had social media.
Before we had viral, you could not find that catalog anywhere. And then Dad happened to be at Sears, and he saw two women fighting at the counter over the last Sears catalog, like two, seagulls over a French fry.
Mine.
And then he saw them, and then they really were mad. And so, of course, years later, when that story came up, now that we have the internet, I was like, I'm going to Google that. I'm going to see what the big deal was.
Did you?
And so I Googled in Sears catalog, slip, male slip, not slip, but the words and that you use. And I found the pictures, and it's just so stupid. I cannot believe. So if anything, there was like a smudge in the photograph. A little smudge that looked like maybe possibly
skin.
A little tiny piece of him was kind of out of his underwear, but not quite. It wasn't even. Good grief. I could not believe that's what church ladies are fighting over. I'll never forget that. That was like a great story from back then. That was the Karens of the day, right? They might have been called Hazels back then. So back in the 70s, maybe it was the Hazels instead of the Karens. I don't know. I feel bad for our cousin Karen. Karen's an awesome lady, and
she really is.
She is.
She
and
really
she's gone through it too.
Oh,
and so
my
poor
goodness.
Karen's. Yeah, because man. So that was a story. Do you remember that, JP? Because he does remember that. And I remember we had in college, there was a guy at Lee College, and the rumor, he was this tall kind of football player looking guy, blonde and all this. And word got around that, he was an underwear model in Sears catalog. And so everybody wants to see him. He's just like a normal, was it him? No, everybody was like, oh, what? And I remember thinking, and it turns out, they don't tell you how old they were. Apparently he was in the children's underwear section when he was a kid.
Toddlers.
I have a couple friends. Actually, one of my friends, his husband was also a child model in Sears or JCPenney's. And it's hilarious. It's his claim to fame. I'm like, wow, gee, I can't say that. I could say that.
No, but not everyone can say they were a tour guide in a cave.
Oh man, that's, gosh,
Not
wow, my
everyone
head
can
just
say
exploded.
that.
They can't. We had some real, what's the weird, so Regina and I, you made my brain explode. I couldn't get my words out. I was like Aunt Claire there for a minute. It's like, well,
I,
yeah,
well,
I love Aunt Clara from Bewitched. But Regina and I were tour guides in Smoke Caverns in
yeah,
Petersburg, West Virginia.
yeah.
And wow, was that a training experience for
Oh, it was
us?
so
Maybe
fun. It was
that's where
so
we
great.
learned. Maybe we learned our people skills there, a lot of them.
We
I
could
didn't, I
have.
always thought we did that in church, but maybe,
I think
it
there was
really,
a
a
good
lot of it
blend
was
there.
being tour guide. What was the craziest story? So we would take people for 35, 40 minutes through this cave. It would go half a mile, fourth of a mile,
Hmm.
back under the
Hmm.
mountain. And it was really deep. I forget how deep was it. The furthest point, I forget,
I
hundreds of
don't
feet
remember.
underground it was below the mountain. And there were stalactites and stalagmites and formations and all kinds of stuff like that. And it still runs. They're still open and they still give tours and all of that. So I can't give away
Yeah.
all the fakes. Oh wait, she froze. Hold on, hold on. That would be her Downton Abbey frozen signature face right there. Yeah.
What was
Did
I
you see
doing?
it?
No, what was I doing?
You're like,
Oh,
yeah. It didn't look that bad actually. But so we go back through and we would take hundreds of people through this cave, like 20 at a time, depending, or more. And crazy,
yeah, snorkel.
crazy stuff happened in Smoke Caverns. Well, do you remember any of the crazy stories as a tour guide? What was like the
Oh, yeah.
goofiest thing that ever happened?
Well, we have this one room called all the way in the back, the farthest that we
Yeah.
can go. We turn out all of the lights and we say, this goofy little story about we'd like to introduce you to TD now, and that also that stands for total darkness. And then
Total
you turn out the
darkness.
lights, and
Yeah.
you turn out all of the lights, and we did that, every
Pitch black.
yeah,
Wow.
dark, 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 dark.
It is dark, dark. You
And
can't see your
yeah,
hand at all.
sidebar, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about
Hmm.
how uh, you are the light of the world, right? And the
Yeah.
light, where light is, darkness cannot be.
Yeah.
And every time now that I read or I hear that verse, I think of the total darkness room, because if
Yeah.
anybody would have flicked flick a bic or whatever, a lighter,
The smallest of
or
lights.
the
Yeah.
smallest light, then everybody's eyes would go there, and that's what the focus would be, not the dark. And
It would be. The
I
whole
love
room would
that.
become that light.
Yeah,
I love that too.
yeah,
Because boy, was that dark. People would freak
it really
out.
was. It really was. And then when we came
Especially when
out
there were
of
bats in the cave.
yeah, when we came out of the dark room, then
Yeah.
that's where the cave, it was kind of split. So we had this upper
Yeah.
walkway and then the lower walkway. And when we came out, we were on that up on that upper walkway, and way
Yeah.
up there in that big room where all the stalactites were hanging on the ceiling,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
tons of
Beautiful.
them. There
Yeah.
were also bats that lived in that room.
Yes. Yes.
And I remember one of the
Little
tour
brown
guides,
bats.
yeah, one of the tour guides, this was in the middle of the 80s, right? And the big hair, the big Aquanet hair, and all of that. Well, one of the tour guides had especially large hair, and a bat came down as she was going in. So she was on that lower level, and
She
these
had
bats
80s
came
hair.
down. Yeah, yeah, big 80s hair.
Oh
This
dear.
this she was going into the total darkness area, and these bats started flying around, and one of them came and got stuck in her hair, and she was like
Really?
batting. Oh my gosh. And I didn't know if I should be terrified or just keel over
Or laugh.
laughing hysterically. Yeah, I'm
Oh
always
my
stuck
gosh.
between those two places, in most cases. Should I be terrified or should I laugh hysterically? I'm not real sure.
Yeah. That's when
But
people
yeah,
fall on the same way. At first I'm like, I hope they're okay, but then I can't stop laughing. Falls kill me.
yeah. But the
They just
bat in the
make me
hair,
giggle.
I will always remember the bat in the hair.
I had people that made me take them out. Like they get back to that point of the cave and they couldn't do it. They tried, and I
Hmm.
would have to escort everybody back out, take that one person out, and then come back in and all back
Hmm.
in. And
Yeah, and we
yeah,
didn't
we
have cell
had
phones or walkie-talkies or anything. So when we were back in there,
nothing.
we had no communication, you know.
That's right.
I hope they have some sort of communication now. I don't know
I'll
if they
bet they
do.
do. I don't know
I
how
hope
you
so.
would, but you'd have to have a relay or something back through there to get cell phone
Oh,
signal. But
wow.
I guess you could do that. What?
Joanne said that she accompanied a tour guide and translated for a French-speaking group one time. How cool is
Oh,
that?
really? I took some way cool people through the cave. One time it was a bunch of geologists and
Uh-oh.
that knew, and I learned so much.
I
Like
bet you did.
people were kind of intimidated to take them in because, but I wanted to, and so I walked in. I started doing the sometimes somewhat corny parts of the tour where
Yeah.
you have to say certain things, but eventually they just basically they didn't want to hear any of that, like all the spiel about the cave, because they were there to look at the geology of the rocks. And
Right.
they told me that's where I learned that, you know, where the soapstone was, you go in,
Hmm.
there's this whole wall of soapstone.
Hmm.
They stopped and they were like totally amazed by that section out of that whole cave, because they said it was very unusual. That was called the core of an anticline. And it was basically where the mountains were forced up and there's layers of rock, of course, as Earth's
Hmm.
created, and sediment and whatnot. And then with the mountains, as the Appalachians Mountains were made, that it jetted some of those layers straight up. But in
Hmm.
this case, one of those layers came in like this. So the soapstone was right there on that wall. And then if you look, there's a slab, it looks like a giant slab of rock. That is
Right.
an entire layer of earth coming right in at that
Wow.
layer from the pressure. And the spillway goes right through that little teepee triangular section. That's how that spillway is created. And that's why it had that triangular shape to it. And they
Oh,
were
how
just
cool
going
is that?
bonkers about, yeah. And like, that's why
Did
you see
they
all that
did they
exposed
like the
stuff.
aurora borealis that we showed them on that soapstone?
I didn't even show them that. I got in trouble a few times for that. So we get back to this one section. It was above this like trout pond. So there's this big pool of water,
Yeah.
and they'll stock golden
Rainbow
trout in
trout,
there.
beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. And
Beautiful.
put lights in there, and you'd see, I forget what the crystalline, it was calcium crystalline structures or something were down in
Hmm.
all along the water. And the fish would be floating around, swimming around. And there was a series of little knobs and lights with like green, blue, yellow, red, whatever lights that lit up
Yeah.
this giant calcium stalactite, I guess. It was this formation on the wall. Beautiful, looked like a big frozen waterfall. And so
Yeah.
then we'd say, and certain times of the year, do you remember how the spill went? Like what we said? They would like, many
That part I
people love
don't.
to visit Alaska, and certain times of the year, you get the northern lights, and you would have to turn the lights on and
Also
off.
known as the aurora borealis. I remember
And
one part
everybody
of
would
it.
look at it and just roll their eyes. It was
Yeah,
so
they did.
embarrassing.
Yeah. I remember one group that I took back. I think they were highly educated people in this particular group. And here I was, I had the accent from, the local accent, and I had a lot of
Yeah,
slang in my speech.
right.
I mean, we grew up there. We talked like we grew
Yeah,
up there.
it's a good accent. Yeah.
And I was always confused with uh, rise and raise. I never could
Oh,
get those two correct. And
I probably
so
don't know.
I always waffled when I was doing, the lights and the aurora borealis when the sun comes up, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, I said, rises, raises, rises, raises, rises, raises. And so I said raises to
Oh,
this group that was, I know they had to be incredibly educated people. And by that time, they were just so sick of hearing me. I mean, their faces reflected that. And I
because they
said, when
saw
the
through all of
sun,
the
oh
nonsense.
yeah. And when the sun raises, and they went rises. And I've never forgotten
Oh,
it. Never forgotten. Raise and rise.
that takes us back to that point that the old guy made about correcting people. There are certain times where
Yeah.
you shouldn't do that, and if you're going to do it, and if it really does bug you, then pull that person aside and do it. Never ever
Yeah.
do it in front of people and put yourself above anyone. I mean, who the hell do
Yeah.
people think
Oh
they
yeah.
are?
I just felt beyond
Oh yeah,
stupid. I
people would
mean, oh
try to
my goodness.
humiliate you.
Oh yeah.
That was good training. That was really good training for us, especially for us, because
Yeah.
we've been raised in a church where we weren't allowed. I mean, we could have, but we were not trained to speak back or
Mm-mm.
or even defend ourselves when people,
Right.
like certain small handfuls of people would say awful things or attack us. The majority of people were never like that, but
No.
there were those who were, that took it upon themselves. And so we had to learn in the cave, with all those tours, how to speak back to people in a way that either let it go, or
Or was
do a
respectful.
mild professional correction. Like
Mhm.
I had a group of people, and this isn't, and I know people have a lot of different belief systems, and we're free to believe however we want to believe, and I
Sure.
get it, and I support that. But this group was a Baptist group that came through, and I knew I was in for it because we had to talk about the age of the stalactites and stalagmites in the cave, and like hundreds of thousands of years old. And here comes this really devout Baptist group, and I'm like, oh gosh, I was dreading getting back to the stalactites and saying this is 200,000 years old or whatever,
Right.
because I knew. And so as soon as I got back there, I said, yeah, and this one is estimated to be, however many 100,000 years old. And they rolled their eyes and giggled at me and laughed at me. And then the youth minister that was there says, well, and I was going to let it go, but because I was like, okay, I have to tell them what the spiel is in the cave anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's not about me. But anyway, he said,
Right.
he gave me this real judgy attitude, and he goes, well, you know why they're laughing. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I do. My dad's a minister. And I know you think the world is only 6,000 years old, but based on evidence, that rock, if you watch how long it takes for one little piece of that rock to grow, and then you just do some simple math and see how big this rock is to figure out how long it took, there's a little bit of a problem there, isn't there? Because that doesn't
You
make sense.
did
And I don't
not.
believe our God is a God of deception. I didn't do it as direct as that, but I would now.
Wow.
And like,
Yeah, you would.
here's I'm going to back this up with religious people, because this was really cool. When I went to Lee College, I did not have a very good experience there, as you know, but this was a good experience. So there was this professor there who taught chemistry and the really hard organic chemistry and all these other
Oh,
whatevers. And this old guy he was a brilliant man
organic
and
chemistry is
very,
painful.
very versed in the Bible. And I saw people crying and bursting in tears coming out of that classroom. But
I
he
bet.
said, he was talking about, fossils and all of these different things. And this is a professor in the Church of God School at Lee College. And he said, many people wrestle with how old the earth is and how old these fossils are. They're like carbon dated and dated to be hundreds of thousands of millions of years old. And he says, I'll just tell you this. He goes, I don't believe we serve a God of deception. And we're like, okay. He goes, I don't believe our God would falsely plant artifacts all over this planet that are thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of years old just to fool us because he thinks that's fun. And he just kind of stopped. And I'm like, he
Wow.
goes, let me, and then he turned back around and says, furthermore, and I'm like, oh gosh. And he goes, and I hadn't thought about this. He said, in Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth without form and void, the first 2 or 3 verses of Genesis. And then God said, and boom. He said, how many years passed between those first 2 or 3 verses in Genesis? And we all went back and looking like a day, a minute, 1,000 years. We don't know. He goes, that's right. You have no idea how long the earth was without form and void, do you?
Right. Right.
That's pretty good.
Not a clue.
That's pretty good. And then to God a day as 1,000 years. I mean, that's in Genesis too, and it's on and on. So that was kind of interesting. I got into some little religious debates here and there.
I bet.
That was fun.
I bet.
And then
Yeah.
the kids that farted, that was always a treat. So
Always.
because there's no room for that to go out when you're in a cave like that.
Linda
So,
said,
yeah, that's some cool
you mean
caverns.
you mean you were raised in church?
I was what? Oh God. That's a good one, Linda. Linda Shankson. That's Alex's wife. So Linda, my boss's wife, is
Of course, Troy would have a
hilarious. Oh yeah, she's amazing. So I have to tell you, Linda
I really hate Troy sometimes.
she was with us at the eclipse in 2017 when I was in
What in the
Carbondale.
world?
the total solar eclipse. And she we did a little show there, and Linda, what did we call that show? It was similar to What's the Point, but we were sitting around with a 360-degree webcam and just being slack and weird and whatever, like we're off the scene production crew. And I forget how many hundreds of people we ended up having watch that thing, but it was hilarious. She has ideas for this show too. That's a lot of yeast. What are you talking about, Anita? Anita said that's a lot of yeast.
You froze. You froze a lot right there.
Did I?
Yeah,
Did I?
and
I was thinking.
Yeah, and it was nice pictures actually. And I was talking about how much I hate.
Oh, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch the freezings. That'll be fun to do. But
I'm sure JP got him.
Yeah.
Did you get him, JP?
I hope you did. NASA Edge with Jazz. That's it. So we called it. It was NASA Edge because it was a crew that was there at the eclipse, and we called it Jazz Hands.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell if he's frozen or I'm frozen.
Jazz fingers in Mexico. You're frozen. You were frozen.
No, I think it was
Oh wait,
you.
now mine's unstable. What's
Just
going on
strike
with
a
the
pose.
internet? Are we under attack?
Oh.
Is this like a cyber attack? JP's like, of course, I have one job here. He's so dramatic. He's probably already thrown himself down the stairs and crying, mascara everywhere. I can just see it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
what's another piece of advice?
The other one? All right. I give compliments freely and generously. Compliments are mood enhancers, not only for the recipient, but also for me. We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we've talked about that because Regina and I both try to do that. And
Yeah.
Anywhere we are. And it feels awkward when you're doing it because people in the city feel like what do you want from me? You're being nice. But I think that's a good one. So we have talked about
people in rural America, which is where I am, when you are polite to them, I don't know, in a grocery store, then they think that that's you totally coming on to them, and they take the opportunity to stalk you all through the store and all around town.
Well, that's interesting.
Down the interstate.
Yeah. I don't have that problem anymore. I used to.
And I've always had this amazing.
I never had a stalker. No,
I'm
I
going
did
there.
once.
I've always had this amazing talent, this amazing skill set, and this amazing attractive draw, if you will, of people who
crazy people.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know how to say that quite right. And I mean, deranged looking, crazy, toothless wonder people that just roam around Walmart waiting for somebody to say hello.
Like you.
I tend, like me. And so today, Noni and I were at Walmart, and and I think it's really important, especially now, because everybody's wearing masks, right? And so you can't see if somebody's smiling at you or if they're talking to you. All you can do is your eyes. So you can learn to sparkle a little or learn to smile with your eyes. And so, I don't want people to think that they're invisible or pretend they're invisible because they have a mask on. And I'm not invisible because I have a mask on. And so when I walk by people, I say hello. And I
do too.
Squinch up my eyes just a little to show that I'm smiling with my eyes.
Yeah.
So I did that today. And, I was doing it a lot today. I was saying hello, 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 being friendly as I do.
Which we should be.
Yes.
I think so.
This one particular man was quite taken aback by my friendliness of saying hello. And he said, well, hello, how are you? And I said, I'm doing well, thank you. And the end. And that was like in the butter section of the store. And then we went on to where the crackers are, and he was there. And we went to where the cat food was, and he was there. And then we went back over to where the other groceries are, like the canned goods, the bread, all of that. Every aisle, he's there. And Noni says, you do know that man's following you, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm seeing him, but I'm not gonna, I see him.
That's crazy.
That's it.
That's
And then
scary.
we go all the way to the other side of the store because I needed some Benadryl because I'm having these crazy food allergy reactions right now. So
Yeah.
I had to get some Benadryl.
Oh
And
yeah.
guess who's
You
there?
did.
And then we go to check out. Guess who is there? And then we leave. And she goes to her car. I go to my car. And as I'm taking groceries out of the cart, putting them in the trunk of my car, somebody pulls up behind me and says, "Excuse me." And I turn around. Guess who it is? And he says, "You're a very beautiful woman, and you have a beautiful smile." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Thank you." And I went back
I
to
have
what
a
I was
gun.
doing.
I can see it
And I
now.
went back to what I was doing. So then he pulls on away, and I was like, "Okay, the
Yeah.
end. I have to tell Noni, right?" And then
Right.
I get in the car and and then pull through. Oh,
Boy, that's a
all
good
done.
freeze.
All froze. And then
Yep.
I pull
You're
up to the
done. You're
next
unfroze.
intersection.
All right. You're done.
Okay. And
Too late.
then I, and he followed me until I got on the interstate, and he's still following. And so
That's creepy.
I, I called Dan, and I was like, "Can you just stalk my phone? Find my iPhone. Can you stalk it and make sure I get home okay? Because if I go off of my path, you need to come and find me because I'm being followed." And so he ended up coming, and I had to pass my exit because I couldn't tell if he was still behind me or if that was another car by this time. And I had to pass the exit and all of that. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm worried about every white SUV I see. And
Yeah.
anyway,
That's creepy, isn't it?
all because
And I
you're
feel
friendly in a
bad,
store.
sometimes people it's harmless, but in today's world, you just never know. And the truth is, there are a lot of lonely people out there, and they just don't even know how to handle it when somebody's nice, and which says a lot. I mean, and I
Yeah,
live in DC, so it's very different. So when I come to Missouri or go to other places, people are by and large nicer
yeah,
than they are here. Like here, it's a very transient driven place. And
yeah,
people do not look at you, talk to you. You say hi to someone, they almost get scared of you sometimes
yeah.
because it's like, what do they want? Are they homeless? Are they weird? They're going to come after me? All of those
You're gonna
things
shoot
because
me.
it
Yeah.
happens. Yeah, but it's not going to stop me from being a human to people. There was a song Bette Midler used to sing about, I think it was called Some People's
Oh,
Lives. And it was a song where you should basically, when you see an old person, especially sitting there alone, like outside or in a park, you should always go up and say hi to them and be kind to them.
mhm,
Old people's eyes is, I think, maybe the name of the
mhm.
song. It stuck with me. And I've always thought of that because if we're blessed enough to get to that age, it's a privilege to be that age.
Yeah,
So if we are blessed enough to be that age, I hope people are kind. I hope
yeah,
there are enough people out there that will really just acknowledge you are there, because these
yeah,
people have lived long enough to where they've lost most of their friends and their family and often are
mhm,
alone and haven't made other connections and friends. Jeff and I have talked about that a lot. Like as we age, we're like, his mom is one of these people that has friends of all ages, and how important it is to do that, like to have young people, older people, whatever in your life always, because as you age, then you have family. Some people don't have family, like kids and all that, but you want your kids to be there and they're blah blah blah, but you also want your own people and friends and young
mhm.
people that have become friends with you. It's a skill we don't teach each other. People think you can
Yeah,
only hang out with people your age, and
not at
you
all.
shouldn't. I don't think that's even natural.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it is 6:34. We've been on here an hour and 4 minutes for our 15-minute show. Uh, so Linda found some really cool pictures from the eclipse. Linda, you got to be here next week because I want you to post those. Post them on our group page
Yeah.
because there's a picture of us with some Oreo
With
guy
your
in an
jazz
Oreo
hands.
suit at Walmart. Oh my God, there were people like when we were there because we were with NASA and we were in Carbondale. We're not used to people when you wear a NASA shirt coming up and being all excited because it says NASA
Right.
and that you work
Right.
there. And people there and during the eclipse it was like being a rock star, and it was so cool. And so there's this picture of us with the giant Oreo person dressed up like an Oreo cookie in Walmart that we got to take our picture with while we were shopping for all of our food because we thought Carbondale was going to be trampled by millions of people, and it wasn't. But oh well. So we got through number 7. There are 14. So maybe next week
This will carry us
open
for
up
several months.
with your leadership topic. What's it going to be? Like, what was the question? I want to think about it.
Oh, it was okay. Here, I'll form it in a question, and then I'll give you the quick answer.
And then that way we can carry it with us and come back and talk about it next week. That'd be cool.
Okay. When you're in a leadership role and something comes to you and you're not experienced in that, or you just don't know, what is the best thing to do? Is it make it up and pretend you know because you're the leader and you're supposed to know?
I would say no to that.
Is it say, just I don't know?
Oh wait, hold on.
Or is it to share
number
what
2.
you do know?
You froze. So the first was act like you know what it is and kind of make it up. And then the second one was what?
I don't know. You say I don't know.
Okay. That's what I would do.
Or do you share what you think you know and then say that you'll look up the rest? Or what is the appropriate response? And what is the wrong, absolute wrong response? I'm
going to think about that because because we could really go into a long one about that. I like that. That's a good one. Okay, we'll do that. We'll take a break from the old men sayings and we'll start with a real leadership principle. Actually, his are good too, but I think that'd be a really good one. I'll think about that. Well, everybody, believe it or not, our time is up, and we have to go. And I have like 100 people behind me doing the production for the show, and without the little people, the show wouldn't be possible. I know, right? All I got to do is take down this green screen that's not quite wide enough for this picture. Did you notice that?
Oh, I do now.
Borders. Yeah.
I didn't. It just looked like that just happened.
No, it's been that way the whole time. Isn't it funny what your eyes do? You look at the show, it's been that way. You can see my closet on one side and the shutters from the window.
I see that.
On the other. Because these green screens are great, but they're not, they need to be about 2 feet
at that tent the whole time.
Otherwise, I have to have my face up into the screen, which is not a good idea, and pull the screen right up behind me. Bad look. So can't do that. Yeah, it's been that way the whole time.
Anita.
So
she said, hey, I'm a little people.
Right. Linda was she was our star in that show. That was funny. Maybe Linda will jump on with us one of these nights. That would be hilarious if you'd do that, Linda. Good Lord, there'd be a lot of stories there. But anyhow, well, we love everybody and we want you to stay safe. And don't do anything we wouldn't do twice. Please. We should come up with a way to close the show, which we haven't done yet, but we'll work on that next week. We have the opening now.
So yeah, and there's music that we could start, right? Like
is there copyright free, like maybe production sounds, like, there's so much going on we have to move because the next show's being set up or something. Of course, I'm in my den with the cats, but nobody knows that. Nobody will know that. All right. We love everyone. We gotta go.
Yeah, gotta go. Bye.
All right.
Love you.
How do you turn this off? There we go. Of course. I'm sorry. Could the people in the studio please stop the show now? Hello?